Welcome to the Content Amplified podcast, brought to you by Masset. Our goal is to help you get more from your marketing content. Each episode is a 10 to 15 minute interview with industry experts that share amazing insights to help you squeeze as much juice from your content as you possibly can. Here's today's interview.
Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. Today we have an awesome guest, Madi Bullock. I got to work with Madi for years, so I can personally vet her legitness in knowing what to do with your content. But welcome to the show, Madi.
Thanks, Ben. I'm happy to be here.
Excited to have you. Maybe just to start things off, give a 1-2 minute summary of your career, your passions in marketing, what you focus on, just so we kind of have some context going into this episode.
So my background is in public relations and all things content marketing. So I currently do that as a consultant. So I say that I help companies establish a brand voice and be seen and grow. So that's through marketing communications, public relations, event production, content, either written, filmed, or even photographed.
I love it. That's really awesome. Okay, well, Madi and I were talking earlier about the subject for today, and I think this is fascinating. I doubt anyone has ever published a piece of content like this because I think it's really, really cool. But Madi has a really unique take on one piece of content that you shouldn't be focusing on. So, Madi, I'll let you introduce it, but I think this is a super fascinating subject.
Okay, well, the content that B2B specifically, so the content that B2B companies don't need is social media. So I would include Instagram in there. I would include Twitter, or X as it's now called. I would include TikTok and all of that. And the reason is because I think that B2B content has to provide value and relevance. So that means that anything you're putting out not only has to reach the intended audience, but it's also got to line up with where the prospect is at in their buying journey. And the ability to hone that on an Instagram page is just not there.
And
So
I think that's a super fascinating point for sure.
thank you. Yeah, no, I think so. You think about Instagram, this is where people go to relax. So they're not hunting for the next platform that their business could use, and they're not thinking about work at all. And so if Instagram is at all relevant to your product, I would say consider saving money on hiring a social media manager and put that money into UGC with people that actually do have a relevant Instagram presence. And even that is still a risk of spend because, again, people aren't on Instagram or TikTok because they're looking for the next platform to use. But if you just have to test the social media waters, I would say find a relevant person that's already had an Instagram presence to talk about your product in a normal, natural way. But that also means that you are trusting that their followers are looking for a product like yours. It's just so niche and it's such a waste of your time, in my opinion.
I love that. And I think there's some good points there. I think one point that I think is really relevant is there is so much to be done in content marketing that you probably, after you go through all the different motions of what needs to be done, you probably don't have time left over for social media. So for
Yeah.
me, that's where I look at it and say, go after your best channels first. And if you've tapped out on all of those, and maybe you're a massive company and you really have, maybe that's where social media comes into the pecking order. But really,
Hmm.
like from day one, it's probably not anywhere in the top 10 as far as the most effective channels and areas to create content on.
Oh, right. Well, and honestly, you even look at TikTok, right? So there's an incredible way that you can utilize TikTok. You can do, really specific how-tos that may actually reveal parts of your product to competitors. You can interview net promoters of your company. But unless you've got massive resources to put behind educational content, you'll be spinning your wheels trying to attract followers. And, for what? Like, if your content isn't valuable and relevant, and if you're not even following relevant people in return, I wouldn't put your hopes and dreams in a video going viral because that doesn't mean you're going to achieve customers because a video went viral. So you think about it like this: TikTok and Instagram are great for entertainment and they're great for e-commerce. And if you don't overlap into those industries, you're wasting your time.
I agree. So what are your thoughts for like a B2B audience that really does live on like LinkedIn or a social platform like that? What are your thoughts on that angle?
I'm glad you asked because LinkedIn, I think, is the exception to this. I think it's if you're going to exist as a B2B company on any platform, LinkedIn is obviously the highest priority. But even then, you need a quick hook and really great targeting. So if you're doing ads on LinkedIn, make sure that you are working with someone that knows exactly how to do that, and knows how to target really well. But then, even that content you're using to hook those people and to get them to either go to your website or go to your LinkedIn. I mean, I would argue that any good ad, you're just going straight to someone's website. I mean, and you always said that, Ben. The entire goal is to get people to the website, right?
Yep.
Um, so that just really means let your LinkedIn be a place for really great educational content or high level things that draw people in and that highlight the pain points of your target customer. um, really understand the demographic and the customer profile that you're going after. Have something exist on your LinkedIn that applies to each one of those categories and each one of those profiles, and then allow the rest of, you know, allow that to funnel them further to the website.
I love it. What are your opinions on using other social platforms? So let's say you have a B2B audience and you are doing some good top of the funnel advertising on the channels where it makes sense, things on your website, things on LinkedIn, things like that. And
Hmm.
rather than doing top of the funnel on like TikTok or Instagram where your audience isn't necessarily looking for you, what are your thoughts on retargeting? Is that a good use of your content for people that have interacted with your website before? Is it now more appropriate to go after them on TikTok or Instagram? Or is that still something that you would probably recommend people avoid?
Personally, I think it's a little bit of a waste of time.
Okay.
So I would avoid it only because um you're putting a lot of work into, you know, a piece of fruit that doesn't have a lot of juice to squeeze out of it,
I
you
like that.
know? So there you
That makes
go.
sense. No, and I think it's really, really good because I think all too often we focus on, and I'm sure you're getting at this as well. And I've done this in the past, like wrongfully so. I focused on, okay, where is my audience and how do I get in front of them? Those are like the
Hmm.
only two parts that I care about. And then obviously the messaging and things like that. But sometimes it's really important to say, hey, what mindset is my audience in on this specific platform? You talked about it. And it's like, on TikTok, are they really wanting to dive into like a digital asset management platform? Or are they really just trying to get a couple minutes away from their kids,
Yeah.
and things like that. So I think it's respectful, like respect your audience and where they're at. Just because they're there, maybe it's not the right reason to actually, advertise to them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. The one thing too, though, that is a little bit of an exception, and I know I brought this up earlier, is, finding someone who already has a big presence on either of those platforms. Um, this could be someone that is essentially an affiliate for your company, right? But I know a lot of really great marketers that give out great tips via TikTok, Instagram, and their videos get tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of views because they have relevant advice to their audience that, you know, they're it's aligned, right? So I follow specific marketers because I love what they have to say and I love their advice. So there is that little loophole where you can find someone that is relevant to your industry that has already built an audience. They're already trusted. And if they trust your company and what your offering is, they would have no problem talking about it. Sometimes these are paid opportunities, sometimes these are affiliate based. Um, and but you can negotiate those conversations and it's not that hard to do either.
Yeah, I love that. I think the influencer landscape is really important. And one thing that I've noticed, it's a lot like pay-per-click and SEO. Pay-per-click is a great way to say, I've got some good content. I've got a good landing page, if people are searching for a term and come to this page, are they going to convert? Are they the right kinds of people? Great. Go spend some money on pay-per-click and find that out. And if it is right, invest on the SEO side of things, because that's going to have a much longer time frame. Same thing on the
Mhm.
social media. If you have like a really good influencer, it's really cool to go talk to that individual and say, hey, can you advertise for us? And if you get great results, maybe it's worth saying, okay, cool, maybe we should develop a social profile. But guess what? It's 2 years down the road before I'm going to get these same kinds of results, because
Mhm.
that's kind of how long it takes to get something going on social media. And most companies just can't afford to do something for 2 years before they get the results.
Yeah. And if you do decide to develop, if you do decide, oh, this content is working with this influencer, maybe we actually can create a presence for ourselves on social media. I would still be very, very careful about the presence that you are showing up with. So you still need to be approachable. You still need to be a human being. Don't put branded stuff all over the place. Don't do salesy things. Be a human being. It's like when you're sitting at your house and a door to door salesman comes over and it feels icky and it feels gross. You feel violated. It's the same thing. You don't want to be scrolling TikTok to be entertained or even to be looking up educational content that's going to help you in your career. And then suddenly feel like you're watching an ad. It doesn't work that way. Human beings don't work that way. Just be a human being in the way that you market to people, and I promise it will go so much better for you.
Yeah. One thing I've always had an issue with in the past on B2B content and social media as well is who in your company can be the spokesperson that's going to be consistent, that's going to be a brand voice that can be relatable, that you can put your eggs in that basket for
Mhm.
years, because, there's always turnover, and maybe it's your founder, but still then, are they ever going to have enough time to be able to do those things? And are they going to eventually turn over? So again, I think to your point at the very beginning, if you're looking for great marketing opportunities with your content, maybe look at some of the other opportunities before social media. And I think there's
Yeah,
a lot of value to that tip.
right, right. And honestly, this is like the number one thing of marketing. You need to understand their pain points, but don't become their pain point, you know? If
Yeah,
there's anything you take out of this, understand the pain point, but don't become the pain point.
I love that. That's a great quote. That's definitely going on
Thanks,
my
man.
social media accounts.
Well, I just came up with it, so
I love
happy
it.
it came out right now.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for the time. This has been super helpful. I love this discussion. I'd love for you to be able to share where people can find you, connect you with you, if they're interested in what you do or just having a conversation about this subject with you. What's the best place for them to reach out?
Yeah, thank you. So you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Madison Bullock, and I also have a website. It's madisonbullock.io. And I have a million other creative projects that I've been doing. I have a podcast called Currently Unwell, and I have a Substack called Undiscovered Hand Model. So you can find me at all of those places.
I love the last reference. That makes me want to
Thank
watch a
you.
specific movie. I love it. That's great. Awesome.
Awesome.
Maddie,
Thanks,
thank you so much
Ben.
for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Content Amplified podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And for additional ways to get more out of your content, visit our website at getmasset.com. That's getmasset.com. And tune in next time to the Content Amplified podcast.